Now it's time for America's Talking, with headlines from across the country, where we focus on Washington. And the longest floor session in state legislative history continued late into Tuesday afternoon as members of the House debated amendments to a controversial income tax bill. The Center Square's Carlene Johnson reports that they were debating for 22 hours Tuesday afternoon, going nonstop with floor speeches for and against amendments to this bill, most of which were offered by Republicans and rejected by Democrats. Senate Bill 6346 would impose a 9.9% tax on personal adjusted gross household income exceeding $1 million. But Washington State Representative Chris Corey said the state hasn't had an income tax for 100 years, and the people there, he says, have shown time and again that they don't want an income tax.
So the fight is for several reasons. One, the income tax is unconstitutional, and it is not a millionaire's tax. It's an actual income tax with an exemption, for now, for your first $1 million. I think that's very important because structurally in the bill, and they've rejected all our amendments to try to codify this, they can come back at any time and lower it. And they will, because in addition to passing this tax, which they claim they need to balance their budget, they continue to grow spending. They don't make any cuts. They don't make any spending changes. They don't prioritize certain things like education, transportation. It is just grow, grow, grow. And it's coming at a cost to the people.
Democrats rejecting almost all of the amendments that were debated so far, including efforts to repeal last year's service sales tax, prevent double taxation for those paying income tax elsewhere, and extending baby product tax exemptions and adult diapers. In Pennsylvania, a proposed 52% tax on skill games being praised and slammed at a hearing. The biggest proposed money maker for Pennsylvania could be, for the 2026 budget, that tax on skill games that are raking in cash across the state. The Center Square's Ford Turner reports Revenue Secretary Pat Brown telling lawmakers Tuesday that he thought the 52% tax rate proposed by his boss, Democratic Governor Josh Shapiro, was consistent and fair tax policy because he said others very similar machines already get taxed at that rate. A pushback came from State Representative Jamie Barton, who told Brown that the proposed, it reminds him of the saying, quote, pigs get fat and hogs go to the slaughter. Shapiro's proposed budget spends $53.3 billion and is drawn flank from Republicans, in part because of the revenues exceeding expenditures, and it gets one-time help from drawing $4.5 billion from the state's rainy day fund. Shapiro's proposed spending plan also anticipates pulling nearly $766 million in revenue from regulating and taxing these skill machines. Another proposal that's expected to be a lot of talk in Harrisburg, legalized recreational marijuana. That's penciled in by Shapiro to generate $729 million for the coming fiscal year. Another headline you'll find at thecentersquare.com, Minnesota school districts allowing race-based teacher stipends. More than 50 Minnesota K-12 school districts adopting a policy that allows taxpayer funds to support certain race-based programs, including financial incentives for teachers of color. The Center Square's Esther Wickham reporting Policy 425, Staff Development and Mentoring, states that the funds may be used to provide financial incentives for teachers of color and teachers who are American Indian. Districts that adopt that policy may also offer additional stipends and incentives and other race-focused professional development programming. But critics include people from Defending Education. The organization says these policies reflect deeply entrenched far-left ideology throughout the entire Minnesota education system that flies in the face of long-standing jurisprudence and the historic sacrifices civil rights leaders and supporters have made over decades. These policies and practices are immoral and anti-American and must be stopped. That is a quote from Ryan Stanley from Defending Education. The Center Square contacted the Minnesota School Boards Association for comments, but have not received a response.